Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And today, guys, I wanted to talk about two recent Blu-rays that came out. We have Abigail on Blu-ray right here. This is a Universal Pictures release. And we have Challengers, directed by Luca Guadagnino. This is a Warner Brothers release. So both of these came out this week, and I would consider both of these films to be pretty high profile, at least in the film movie loving community world, which, to be honest, that's kind of where I operate on social media and on YouTube. People that really love movies, like, that's who I interact with online. I fully recognize, because both of these films did not kill it at the box office. They're not super like mainstream movies. They didn't make Despicable Me 4 money. They didn't make Inside Out 2 money. They didn't make Bad Boys Ride or Die money. I understand these are not like real mainstream movies that everybody's watching, but in the world of film and movies and physical media, the places where I operate, these movies seem to be pretty popular amongst the crowd. So I wanted to have a conversation today about the two of these movies, their physical media releases. Are these worth buying on Blu-ray with a potential 4K on the horizon? Just the dynamics of that, and where are we going right now in physical media with some of these movies coming out on Blu-ray and not getting 4K releases, and then 6 months later getting 4K releases, and then people just not knowing whether or not to pick these up because they want to wait for a potential 4K. So I want to cover these two releases, talk about the pros and cons of both of these. I'm not going to dive as much into the movies themselves. I did watch both of these. I have a channel, guys, with my wife. It's called Married with Media. I'll link it down below in the description. I always do. We review new movies. We reviewed Abigail this week. I'm sure Challengers will be coming soon on the channel. We'll be talking about that one. So, but in short, I liked both of these movies. I actually liked both of these movies, so I can say that. But as for the details, go check out our reviews on our channel. So, yeah, I just wanted to have that conversation because I get the question a lot. I feel like people DM me a lot. Ken, should I pick that up? Do you think that'll get a 4K at some point? And I just feel like this is a conversation that's going on right now in the world of physical media. In the world of physical media alone, like amongst the collector community, the average Joe that's going to Walmart to pick up Challengers or Abigail on Blu-ray or DVD, let's be honest, the average Joe is probably grabbing the DVD at this point. They're not even going for the Blu-ray, so they don't care if it gets a 4K or not. But us in this community that care about having the movies that we love in the best possible picture quality or format definitely cares about that sort of thing. So I want to have that conversation, and this is just going to be a casual conversation. I don't have notes, or I rarely have notes anymore, guys, when I do videos. I just like to get on here and talk about this stuff. But before we get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about physical media on this channel, guys. Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me every single day. So if you like that kind of thing, hit that subscribe button. Also like the video, and then comment down below, guys. Did you pick up either one of these releases on Blu-ray? Did you watch them? Did you enjoy them? Are you hesitant to pick these up because you're waiting for that potential 4K? Let me know in that comment section below. Let's go ahead and start off with Abigail, and I want to talk about Universal specifically because I feel like Universal's got a little bit of a bad rap because, and honestly, for good reason, some for not good reason, but for good reason in terms of the games that they play with, how they release their films on Blu-ray and 4K. They're probably the biggest culprit when it comes to putting out a Blu-ray of a new release film, and then 6 months later, maybe a year later, they put out a 4K. They've done it recently with films like The Black Phone. They did it with Megan. They did it with Violent Night. Like they've done it a lot. Time and time again, they've shown this. And it's made people take pause on movies like The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which hasn't got a 4K yet, but a lot of people are speculating that it probably will at some point. So you have these movies that they put out on Blu-ray. And by the way, Last Voyage of the Demeter, I posted in my community tab. Last time I checked, it was $10 on Blu-ray. And that's something to note also with Universal. Their Blu-rays they put out, they usually drop pretty quickly. And sometimes that'll indicate that a 4K is coming very soon. But they put out that movie, didn't get a 4K yet. They just put out Abigail. And look, I I watched this movie, and while I'm watching this film, I'm thinking to myself, damn, this looks good on Blu-ray. I'm like, damn, this looks good on Blu-ray. And I just went ahead and bought it. And I was in Walmart. They put it out early. I wanted to see it. I didn't get a chance to go out to the theaters to see it. This movie was very hyped up. I just wanted to see it. And I was like, you know what? $23. It's Blu-ray. I just didn't want to think about it. I just didn't want to think about, is it going to come out in 4K? Because when I really get into that stuff, guys, is it going to get a better release later on? That kind of stuff just stresses me out, and it takes all the fun out of collecting. It's like, if I want a movie and this is my only option, then I'm just going to get it. And look, it's a cool slipcover. Abigail's embossed on it as well. It does have the DVD, so it has both. Like, Universal's still doing both the Blu-ray and the DVD. I think their new 4Ks, they'll still have the 4K and the Blu-ray. I honestly don't buy a ton of new Universal 4Ks, I don't feel like. But yeah, with this one in particular, they put out the Blu-ray, and I just wanted to see the movie, so I bought it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, you know what? If they come out with a 4K of this in 6 months to a year, unless it's a really cool steelbook and I just feel enticed to purchase it, I probably won't upgrade it. I honestly probably won't upgrade it because I was really happy and satisfied with the Blu-ray. And that's something to note. With new movies in particular, I feel like this is the case. Like, they look great on Blu-ray and they also look great on 4K. Yes, you can notice a difference with that HDR and that Dolby Vision if it's got the Dolby Vision. You can notice the difference there. The colors are just a little bit more rich. There's more depth there. There's definitely more detail. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to Challengers. But I'm watching this movie on Blu-ray and I'm like, the detail's incredible. It looks great. Like, most of this movie's kind of is in the nighttime in this kind of dark house that feels like it's candlelit. So, I mean, the lighting in this movie is really good. And the movie just looks really good. It has a really nice visual quality to it. Cinematography is very well done. It's a well-directed film. It's directed by the same people that did Ready or Not, which kind of has a similar aesthetic to it, which I actually think Ready or Not will look great in 4K. This movie would probably look great in 4K as well. But I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, honestly, like, if I was watching the 4K right now, I don't know, like, just watching it, if I would be able to notice, like, a substantial enough difference. So I was satisfied watching this on Blu-ray, and I just thought it looked good. So I was like, will I ever want to upgrade this to 4K? I don't know. I might just be happy keeping the Blu-ray. And that's one thing I will say to people out there. Just don't fall into the trap. Just don't fall into the trap. If Universal puts out the Blu-ray and you want the movie in your collection, just get it. Just get the damn movie. If they put it out on 4K, they put it out on 4K. If you want to upgrade it to 4K, you want to upgrade it to 4K. But, like, just don't. I'm just tired of playing the game. I'm tired of getting stressed out about this kind of stuff. If I want the movie, I'm just gonna pick it up, and that's what I would encourage all of you all to do. Now, when it comes to Universal and some of these studio titles they put out, I would recommend maybe waiting 2 weeks, maybe waiting 3 weeks, because a lot of times these movies will drop down a full $3 to $4 by the time they come out. But just talking a little bit more about this release, I'll do a little unboxing. It is a really nice slipcover on this. And then you got the back right there with the image of Abigail, some other images from the movie. You got the synopsis, special features, specs, and all that stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff on here. There is a director commentary. The directors did a commentary on this, which is really cool. There's a Becoming a Ballerina Vampire featurette. You got deleted and extended scenes. You got a gag reel. So you've got special features on this to dig into. So I honestly can't hate on that. I mean, Universal put new special features on here. So it kind of feels like a kind of definitive release for this movie. And I think it's a really nice. I think it's a really good release. Is it $23 good? That's up to you. That's up to whether or not you are willing to spend that kind of money on a new Blu-ray release, especially when there's 4Ks that are cheaper that come out at this point. But Abigail is a good release. I will say it's a good release. And I didn't get sent this. I purchased this with my own money. I have no reason to promote this to you guys. But if you do want to pick it up, I'll link it down below. You got the Blu-ray case right there. Inside, you do get a digital code, and you have both the DVD and the Blu-ray on the inside. So, Yeah, will there be a better version? Like, likely with Universal, like, they'll put out a steelbook at some point. But I want to talk about that a little bit as well. Is Universal wrong for doing that? Because it feels like they put these movies out on Blu-ray and they're testing the waters. They're testing the waters. Will this sell well on 4K? And if it sells enough on Blu-ray, then they make the 4K. Are they wrong for doing that, or is that just a smart business decision? But Universal, I don't believe they're the enemy. They do play what can be seen as an insidious game with how they release stuff. I get that. I understand that. Like, if you're not for that, I get it. If you want to call them out for that, I get it. But they're still releasing their movies on physical media. So at the end of the day, I think that's a good thing. And I just don't think we should get so caught up in all this stuff anymore. I'm saying this as somebody that gets excited for new 4Ks, that makes videos about studios not putting movies out, new movies out on 4K. I'm definitely for options. I'm always for options. And I do think that if a movie is streaming on 4K, like Abigail, I want it on physical 4K. Why is it not on physical 4K? I get the cost is more expensive, but come on, Universal. Like, you put out Exorcist Believer on 4K. That movie did not kill it at the box office. It did not do good at the box office. I'm pretty sure that Abigail probably made more money for the studio than The Exorcist Believer. At least it didn't lose as much money as Exorcist Believer did. But they put out Exorcist Believer because it's a franchise. Same with Halloween Ends. It's a franchise, so they put that out on 4K. But Abigail and a lot of their other horror films like Megan, they wait. They play games with that stuff. I think that horror, like, it's a safe bet. Just put it out on 4K. A lot of people that still collect physical media are horror fans. Like, we'll buy this stuff. So Abigail should have probably been put out on 4K, but I will say, like, the Blu-ray looks good. It's got good features. There's a director commentary. It's a good release. So I do recommend picking up Abigail if you want it, if you're interested in that movie. So let's move on to challengers, guys, because I've got two different perspectives here. Like, I've got the perspective on Abigail, and I've got kind of a different perspective with challengers. First off, getting into this release, the big controversy here, and this is a Warner Brothers release that I was sent by the studio, so I do want to note that. This is a Warner Brothers release. There's nothing new on here in terms of special features. There is no director commentary. There's no deleted scenes. There's no gag reels. Not that I would expect gag reels from a movie like Challengers, but there's nothing. There's none of that stuff. So they didn't add anything to this release. And this is a Blu-ray only release. Now, when this was first announced, I think the head guy over at Vinegar Syndrome, I'm completely blanking on his name. I think it's Justin LaLiberty is his name. On Twitter, he called this out. He's like, this would make a fantastic 4K. Let us do it. Let us give this movie the treatment that it deserves over here at Vinegar Syndrome, because we would add tons of special features and we would really do this thing up and make it a nice collectible collector's release. And of course, that didn't happen, at least not yet. I mean, that was a few months ago. Maybe there's something in the works. Maybe they will put something out at some point, but this has nothing in terms of special features. And I watched the Blu-ray, and while I'm watching this Blu-ray, I had a very different reaction than what I had with Abigail. And I don't know if this movie, I mean, this movie was directed by Luca Guadagnino. He feels like a filmmaker's filmmaker, like he would be the type of filmmaker that would shoot a movie on film. So I don't know if this movie, off the top of my head, if it is, I'll put it down there somewhere. I don't know if this was shot on film or not, but I'm watching the movie on Blu-ray and I'm thinking to myself a completely different thought than I was thinking to myself when I was watching Abigail, and that's, this would make an amazing 4K. And this Blu-ray doesn't look like the best Blu-ray I've seen. Like, there are parts here where I could definitely see that improvement in 4K. Some parts where they're showing some, because there's a lot, and maybe that's the difference. There's a lot of up-close facial shots in this movie. There's a lot of sweat dripping off the faces. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's just not as clear. There's not as much definition in those faces as there would be if I was watching this in 4K. I could definitely see the improvement. So maybe it's just because visually, this is a more interesting film and there's a lot more going on with this movie visually than with Abigail. Even though Abigail is a beautiful movie and it's beautifully shot and it's beautifully made, I think that visually, just the way the movie's directed, the way that it looks, the way that it's shot, I think this would make a really good 4K. But the same rules apply to this, guys, and my same thought processes apply to this as it does to Abigail. If you want to see Challengers, this is your only option right now. Just get it. Just get Challengers and don't stress out about what's coming down the road. Now, what I will say at this point, Luca only has one 4K. Well, maybe, I think Suspiria has an overseas 4K, but domestically it does not have a 4K. Call Me By Your Name just got a 4K in that Sony box set, so I don't think it has a standalone 4K release yet. It's just in that Sony Pictures Classic box set. So Lucasfilms usually don't get 4Ks. I don't know if that's him being reluctant to go into that format or not. I don't know if he has anything to do with it, but A Bigger Splash doesn't have a 4K. Bones and All doesn't have a 4K. Now Challengers does not have a 4K. And Suspiria does not have a 4K, at least domestically in the States. So that's one thing to note. But I will say, because this movie doesn't have any special features on this release, it's very bare bones. I do think at some point we are going to get some kind of collector's edition from some boutique label, whether that's Criterion, whether that's Vinegar Syndrome. I don't know, but I think at some point, I think Challengers is that movie that got enough notoriety in the film-going community, cinephile community. I feel like at some point this will receive some kind of a special edition from a boutique label. And that will make this Blu-ray release seem a little pointless at that point if that happens, where I don't feel like Abigail will get any kind of boutique release. Like maybe Screen Factory will do a 4K of it at some point. They've done some Universal films on 4K, but it's not going to get any kind of like big box set treatment. At least I don't think it will. Whereas Challengers, I could totally see this getting some kind of Criterion Collection edition at some point, or maybe Vinegar Syndrome. And another important thing to note with this release in particular with Challengers is this has Dolby Atmos included on as well. So it is on Blu-ray, but it does have that definitive sound upgrade, because the score in this film by Trent Reznor is freaking incredible. It is a character in the movie. It is such an important part of this film and the way that the story is told. So I think including Dolby Atmos definitely adds some value to this release, whereas I don't think the Blu-ray looks the best that it could look. It doesn't have special feature, but they definitely delivered when it comes to sound. So if you have that full sound setup, like on my soundbar with the subwoofers, it was thumping and pumping and really immersed my wife and I into the movie while we were watching it. So that's definitely a big positive when it comes to this release as well. I guess what I'm trying to, because I have so many different conflicting thoughts when it comes to this, guys. I think at the end of the day, if you just want the movie, the main message here is just get it and don't stress out about it. I see way too many people stressing out about this stuff, and that's not why we do this. That's not why we get on here and talk about movies and physical media. I know sometimes I can definitely get that way. I can make videos talking about movies that don't get 4Ks and how it's BS. And to be honest, I do kind of think it's BS, because this movie is streaming on 4K as well. These movies are shot in 4K with modern technology. And yes, at this point, I think that every movie that comes out should be put out on 4K. I'm not saying go out and buy these movies right away. Maybe wait a few weeks and they'll go down $5 or $6. But what I am saying is, if you want the movie, because the movie at the end of the day is the most important thing. If you want to watch the movie, you want a physical copy of the movie in your collection. You don't want to rent it on VOD. You don't want to buy it on VOD. You don't want to stream it on Netflix. You want to support the movie. Then I say just buy it. Just buy it, because it's not going to hurt. It's definitely not going to hurt. The more people that buy this Blu-ray, that buy Abigail on Blu-ray, that's going to show the studio that there is still a market in home video for these releases and these particular movies. And then maybe we're going to get the movie editions that we want of these movies at some point. Maybe you watch it and you don't love it, and then you don't want to go any further than the release that you got. That's definitely something too. But, they're not in the grand scheme of things, $22 isn't the most expensive, for these movies, for new movies that have come out. You're going to spend way more than that going to the theaters to see these on concessions and all that stuff. So $22 to get a movie, to own it in your collection, is not a lot of money. But again, I understand if you want to wait, because some studios are playing this game, and then you got studios like Lionsgate that's putting out Civil War. on 4K. They seem to put out a lot of their stuff. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare got a 4K. Boy Kills World got a 4K. Like, there's a lot of studios that are putting this stuff out on 4K. I think Sony's pretty good about putting their new movies out on 4K as well. But Universal is definitely a primary culprit. But then you got people like Disney. They put out a lot of stuff on Blu-ray as well. And they will never upgrade it. Like, they'll put it out on Blu-ray and then they'll just forget about it. So at least Universal has the good sense to see that a movie's performing well on Blu-ray, on physical media, and then circling back to it and giving that steelbook treatment, that 4K treatment. So I appreciate that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I appreciate that. It can be a little shitty sometimes, like when you really stop and think about it. Like, you guys are just playing us. But all these companies are playing us. Everybody's playing us in their own way. Like, that's the name of the game when it comes to business. But I just wanted to get on here, guys, and give my thoughts on these two releases. I think Abigail is a really good release, and the Blu-ray looked excellent. It really did, and I probably won't upgrade this. Challengers is a good movie that I enjoyed, that I thought looked okay on Blu-ray, but I can definitely see the potential in the 4K here. And if they do a 4K special edition, I'll probably buy it because I like the movie enough and I would like to see some special features on this film as well. But that's my thoughts on this whole Blu-ray to 4K upgrade, this whole situation we got going on right now in the world of physical media. And I just kind of wanted to get on here and talk about these two releases with you guys and then gauge your thoughts in the comments section below. So definitely comment down below your thoughts on this whole thing. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all of my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.